My topic for my current events was school security, police metal detectors in schools. School security is to provide security and protection to students, personnel, equipment, and property, maintain campus security, and protect district property against vandalism, illegal entry, fire, and theft, and to enforce laws. School security is important so students are safe from violence, bullying, harassment, and substance abuse. Safe schools promote the protection of students from violence, exposure to weapons and threats, theft, bullying, and the scale or use of illegal substances on school grounds. I did 12 current events on this topic. The first article I wrote about was school security, location and context, impact, armed debate. This article is from the Merida Times, posted on September 23, 2021. This article is about a false school shooter on grounds claim where they are thinking about doing Ohio mobile training program to protect staff as well as having armed teachers and staff. One interesting quote from this article is, Senate Bill 168, as introduced, would seek to standardize requirements for the training of armed teachers by establishing an Ohio mobile training program, and House Bill 99 would give Ohio school districts and school boards the option to lower required weapons training for armed school security personnel and staff to as few as 8 hours. But to date, only 2 out of Washington County's 6 public schools have approved public policies concerning the arming of teachers. Some things I still wonder is, are the teachers and staff going to be armed at school, and why or why not? Also, what are they going to need to do at the Ohio Mobile Training Program? The second article I wrote about was, for the first time in 19 years, Montgomery County Schools set to reopen without police, from the Washington Post by Rebecca Tan, that was posted on August 25, 2021. This article is about not having community engagement officers anymore in school and having people of color arrested and disciplined by police in schools. One interesting quote from this article is, citing data showing that Black, and Latino students and students with disabilities were disappropriately arrested and disciplined by police in schools, following nationwide protests against police misconduct and racial profiling, Montgomery became one of the several counties in the D.C. region to pull police from public schools. Some things I still wonder is, why were community engagement officers there in the first place? The third article I wrote about was, in aftermath of school stabbing, metal detectors remain unlikely at Springfield schools, by WMAY Newsroom, that was posted on August 24, 2021. This article is about a school stabbing and how the school still does not want metal detectors in their school because metal detectors do not detect everything. Some things I still wonder is if metal detectors could help. I know they're costly, but is there any other reason why she doesn't want them in the school? The fourth article I wrote about was Prosecutors' School Massacre Not Mitigated by Other Errors, posted on September 8, 2021 by Terry Spencer from the Washington Post. This article is about a school shooting where 17 students were pronounced dead. There was a school violation during this where the school had unlocked the gates before the school day was over, where the shooter, Nikolas Cruz, got into the school. The shooter is getting life or death in prison. One interesting quote from this article is, Cruz's attorney, Melissa McNeil, said her side will never use mitigating circumstances as an excuse, as a defense, or as justification for the crimes that occurred, but she said jurors must know all the circumstances surrounding Cruz, his life, and the shooting if he is convicted, and they are asked to decide between death penalty and life in prison. Some things I still wonder is, why did the school unlock their gates early? And what is going to happen to the school or purpose that unlocked the gates early? And are they going to add more security now? The fifth article I wrote about was Families Recount Trauma at Sentencing for School Shooter, from AP News by James Anderson, that was posted on September 17, 2021. This article is about a student that was shooting in the school and targeting students that made fun of her for being transgender. The student is facing 46 charges and life in prison without parole, but could be eligible for parole after 20 years. One interesting quote from this article is, McKinney was 16 at the time of the shooting, was sentenced to life in prison last year, but could become eligible for parole after 20 years under a program for juvenile offenders. Some things I still wonder is, why could she become eligible for parole after 20 years? Did anyone know she was getting bullied? The sixth article I wrote about was Smart Investments for Safer Schools from American Progress by Bayless Fiddyman, Ashley Jeffrey, and Scott Sargrade, that was posted on December 19, 2018. This article is about a school shooting at Columbine High School. They are now investing in visible security measures such as school resource officers, metal detectors, and surveillance. One interesting quote from this article is, although this focuses on physical and visible safety measures is understandable in the wake of a tragedy, it results in the adoption of approaches to school violence that have not been proven to advance school safety. Moreover, there is some evidence that safety measures such as SROs and metal detectors create a less welcoming environment for students, particularly students of color. It is therefore important to invest in proven, evidence-based solutions that go beyond providing visual representations of safety to create a genuinely safer school environment. Such approaches include violence prevention programs, teacher training, and peer mediation interventions. Some things I still wonder is, are they going to invest in more security if they create a less welcoming environment and don't always work? The seventh article I wrote about was School Shooting Suspect Becomes Upset During Brawl Trial from AP News by Terry Spencer, that was posted on October 7, 2021. This article is about the school shooter of Stoneman Douglas High School, Nicholas Cruz, who attacked a jail guard. Cruz has flipped both middle fingers at the guard who charged him in court. He will get either life or death in prison if proven guilty. Two interesting quotes from this article is, more than 100 prospector jurors over 2 days said they could fairly try Cruz on charges that he attacked Raymond Beltran in November 2018, 9 months after the shooting at Mary Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland that left 17 dead. The shooting trial has not been scheduled because of the pandemic and arguments over evidence and testimony. And Cruz faces a possible 15-year sentence if convicted of attempted criminal battery or on a law enforcement officer and 3 lesser charges. Cruz will get either death or life in prison without parole if he is later found guilty of first-degree murder, and this trial still has relevance. Some things I wonder is, why would he get the death sentence, and did he already have life in prison for the school shooting? The eighth article I wrote about was County Discusses Cybersecurity, that was posted on August 28, 2021 by Michelle Newbanks from the Merida Times. This article is about a cyber attack on Memorial Health System, which has had officials contemplating potential attacks on Washington County. They were contemplating their security, wondering if it was enough, thinking that if these people wanted to get in, they will. One interesting quote from this article is, discussion turned to possibly hiring someone to handle cybersecurity. Radar said looking forward he'd like to hire someone, and it's becoming more and more of a need rather than a want. Some things I still wonder is, will someone be monitoring the cybersecurity help, and will cyber attacks happen anywhere else than the hospital and schools? The ninth article I wrote about was Campus Safety Vital to a Successful School Year from the Merida Times, that was posted on September 13th, 2021. This article is about a student from Washington State Community College finally being back at school after 19 months of not being there because of COVID-19. The staff has a lot more responsibility for this year with keeping the students safe and well as the school clean in order to keep the students in school. Washington State Community College has received a Campus Safety Grant Award, and WSCC was selected to receive $316,719. One interesting quote from this article is, the Ohio Homeland Security Division of the Ohio Department of Public Safety and works to assist local schools, colleges, and universities and law enforcement agencies to prevent and prepare for and respond, including self-harm, through a holistic solutions-based approach to improving school safety. Some things I still wonder is, why were they chosen for this grant and not other schools? And is there any way other schools can improve their school security and get a grant as well, or to get a grant to improve their school security? The 10th article I wrote about was All 16 Schools Impacted to Threats to See Single Trial from the Marina Times by Janelle Patterson that was posted on June 4, 2021. This article is about a man from Georgia that was charged with 22nd-degree murder felony conduct of inducing panic in Washington, Noble, Athens, Union, Scottsdale, Jackson, and Franklin County schools in Ohio. He was charged with this from 2 counts of alleged threats to a Pennsylvania high school. Nicholas John Francis Hall, who is 18, pled guilty for all of felony counts. One interesting quote from this article is Enyi explained during the hearing that each felony count, if Hall is convicted and the charges are not reduced, could carry an indefinite prison term of 8 to 12 years per charge. He noted that if each charge were stacked with consecutive sentences and Hall's behavior in prison warranted, he could be sentenced to a maximum of 176 to 264 years in prison. Some things I still wonder is, was he found guilty, and what were the threats he specifically made? The 11th article I wrote about was Fritzer says any school vaccination mandate must go through legislator from WMAY Newsroom that was posted on November 2nd, 2021. This article is about school vaccination mandations. In California, there will soon be vaccinations added to the state list of immunizations required for school attendance, and Illinois may eventually do the same. One interesting quote from this article is COVID-19 requirements have been implemented around the country. Some school systems in the state of Hawaii have begun to require teen athletes and after-school program participate to get vaccinated. And as for Illinois' mask mandate, Fritzer said there are several things he is looking at before dropping the mandate, with the 2 most important being COVID hospitalizations and vaccinations. Some things I still wonder are all states going to eventually mandate the vaccine, and why do they want to mandate the vaccine for school activities but not to go to school? The 12th article I wrote about was Threats Expand to More Schools from Marina Times by Janelle Patterson that was posted on May 11, 2021. This article is about how threats were made 3 days in a row coming from a New York phone number to Washington County schools. One interesting quote from this article is, according to Ohio Revised Code Section 291731, the threats of an active shooter bomb fall under the crime of inducing panic, which is elevated to a second-degree felony by involving a school or institution of higher learning, according to Division B5 of that section. Some things I still wonder is, did they find the suspect of the bomb threats, and were there more threats to other schools, and when did they open the schools back up? After reading all 12 of these articles, I learned how important and how hard it is to keep the school safe. There's no right answer in security. It depends on the area you live in and how it has helped. It is sad to have to go through metal detectors every day walking into school to get an education, and students don't like it, but sometimes you have to do it just that in order to keep all students safe in school. I also learned that there are so many different ways that things could happen. School security does not stop everything. Metal detectors will not stop the threats of cyber bullying, etc. Metal detectors also do not catch everything that could be harmful to students. As a school, it is very hard to decide what type of security you need in the schools and what to do when things happen. There is no right answer. The authors of these articles want you to understand that no matter the security in the school, there is still a chance of violence occurring in the school, so it is very important for all schools to have a safety. These articles impact the world because they are things that have happened in these schools and what action they take towards them. These articles can also show schools from all around the world what security they have used and what has worked for them and why it has or why not. It shows the world that violence happens everywhere and how important it is to keep your students safe and to make sure your students feel safe in school too.